Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures.
I appreciate you being here with me at the Stanley, Scuba, Sailing, and Adventures World Headquarters. If this is your first time, please hit that subscribe button. Today we're going to take a look at the Chasing E-Reel. Noted on the box, 4,800 milliamp hour battery, 656 feet of tether capacity, IP65 waterproof rating, and an anti-stuck automatic wiring design. It's my understanding that the reel does not include tether, but what we will do is load the tether from my Gladius Mini S underwater drone. If you recall, that drone came with a hand spool for the tether. So I'm really excited to get the Chasing E-Reel set up. They do make another reel similar to this that's completely manual, doesn't have the battery. Since there are times when I'm operating the drone alone, I really thought it would be better to have the E-Reel or battery-powered reel. I think I'll save this foam that came in the box and perhaps get a pelican case and reuse the foam. Here we have our instructions, which I will read later. And this short tether is to connect the remote to the E-Reel. And here we have our power pack for charging the E-Reel. And that connection looks standard. And here is the manual crank handle. I guess that's in case the battery runs out of juice while you're out in the field. Nice design. There's a handle on top, as you can see. It's not terribly heavy. For some reason, I expected it to be heavier. Here's what I'm assuming is the place for the manual crank handle. Indeed, that is it. We have some little feet or legs on the bottom. And on the other side, we have a power button and off, slow, and fast power control, and an LED light. And here we can plug in either the tether for the remote or the charging cable. These connectors are all similar to the other ones that I've shown you before. There's a single little notch, so it can only be orientated in one direction. You can't put it in wrong. So you can see on the end of these cables here, that's the notch I'm talking about. So let's see if we can figure out how this works. That's the feeder, and there should be a button to pop that open. Okay, right on the side. And you thread the tether through that. Simple operation. As I mentioned in previous videos, I do my unboxing live, so this is my first time seeing the product. Looks like it came with a charge. Looks fully charged. And then that little dial has 3 positions: off, on, and then faster. So there's a place here where we screw the tether into the drum And again, it's that same type of connector. There's a little notch. I'll see if I can give you a better view. But it just slides in there and you thread the nut on and tighten it down. Here's our tether from the Gladius Mini S, and you can see the same ends. However, for the Gladius Mini S, if you watch the other video, you'll know that the drone end has this loop on it, and there's actually a little tag here that says ROV end. But that loop you put into the carabiner on the top of the drone in case you need to pull on that tether, right? You're not pulling directly on the piece that's screwed into the back of the drum. So that being said, the reason I mentioned it is we want to make sure we don't put the drone end of the tether into the drum. So we'll take the other end of the tether after I unspooled it, which did take a few minutes. That was 656 feet of tether that I unspooled and have laying all over the floor now. So you can turn the drum by hand so that you can get the spot visible to insert the tether. And again, it'll only go in one way, and then you can just tighten that nut down with your fingers. And I'm assuming hand tight is just fine, but hard for me to get my big fingers in there. I do want to make sure it's sufficiently connected because it will be buried under that tether. There we go. Now, in order to get the reel to wind up the tether, you do have to slide it into the feeder on top. And here's a lesson learned. That little button, I can't reach it when the feeder's too far over to the right. And maybe I could have slid something in there to press the button, but I just can't get my finger in there. So I'm going to have to thread some of the tether onto the spool so that I can get that feeder into a position where I can press the button. Now, had I thought of that ahead of time, I would have just turned the drum before I threaded the other end of the tether into that connector on the drum, but I didn't. So I'll just hand roll a few feet of tether onto the drum so that we can get that feeder into a place where I can open it with my finger. We can get to the button. Now I can reach it quite easily. So there's that little button there on the side. And it's really easy to thread this tether. Just put it over the top of the white drum and then slide it around behind the other wheel and close the door. And that's it. Now it's ready to reel up. I think I did record all 656 feet, but I'm not going to show you all that. I did want to use the hand crank a little bit just to get a feel for how difficult it would be if I had to crank up the whole thing. And it's actually quite smooth. It's not difficult to crank up at all. But that's enough of that. Let's use the power. Here we are. We'll switch it on low. It's definitely a quality piece of equipment. Feeds the tether on quite smoothly and does a good job of spreading the tether evenly across the drum. So we'll try the faster speed. That's definitely faster. So again, just the 3 settings: off, low, and I guess I'll call this high. And we'll switch back to the low setting here. So you can see there's quite a bit of difference in speed between the low and the high setting. Now when you get toward the end of the tether, you want to stop it, right? I guess you could let it run into the end there, but I don't imagine that would be good for it. So when it was just 3 or 4 feet out, I shut the power off and then used the hand crank. And you can see there's the ROV end, or drone end. Now I'm going to set it so it's ready to run. You do need to remove that after it's spooled up. If you're going to connect it to the drone and you want it to spool out easily, you'll need to disconnect it. Now that's ready to go. I can just connect the drone to it. We still need to connect our remote control. So when we remove the power cord, we connect our remote tether to the e-reel, and the other end, the remote control. And that's it. We're ready. Final thoughts. I'm excited about getting this in the field. I think it's going to make life a lot better.
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment.